Hello, my name is Eric. I've been meaning to make Tarkov videos for a while, and this patch actually has me kind of excited. I've been waiting for more quality of life fixes than actually the locations. That's just me. I want them to fix the game before they actually release new content. The patch 12.11.5, they made some good changes here. I'm going to gloss over the things I don't care about, and I'm going to go into more depth with the things that I do care about and some things that I tested a little bit. So, let's get into it. Made adjustments that allowed to reduce the amount of consumed RAM after finishing a raid. So, okay, not the best English there, but awesome. Optimizing the game. Changed the logic of in-game fonts that allowed to reduce memory consumption. Also awesome. And so now the text looks really nice. They said that actually helps the game load faster the way they did it. I actually like the look of it better. I feel like it pops a little bit more. I think it's a little bit smaller, maybe a little bit thinner of a font, and then it has kind of a black outline. It's not with all the fonts. I think it's mostly with like just the items. But I think it's a little smaller, thinner, but then has that black contrast, so I like it. I feel like it's a little bit easier to read. Ultimately, it's pretty tight though. I like the new font. Enabled reflex no longer affects performance in Hideout, so that's good. Hideout performance has always been terrible, and not always, it's been getting worse over time. It seems like to me. So anything there's good. Optimize the logic of loading character voices in raid, which reduces time to load into raid, so that's good. Optimize sound batching loading, which reduces memory consumption and time to load into raids, so that's also good. Optimize the location loading time by rationalizing the logic of storing game resources. Optimize the memory consumption of the client by unloading all unused scenes from the memory. Optimize trader offer search time while using context search and filters. Added the enable hideout preload option in the game settings. If it's enabled, it preloads the hideout. And otherwise it will be like normal if you don't enable it. So you actually have to enable it in the settings. So here it is, preload hideout on game start. So far I've liked it. I'd rather, I guess, add a little bit longer to the initial loading time while you're like getting a drink of water or whatever, and just do it then instead of having it be every time you load the hideout. I do understand it would make the loading times slightly longer when you end matches and also when you load up the game for the first time. But it says down here, it says just on game start, so maybe it's not that bad. Shadow render distance is increased to 500 meters, regardless of your settings. So this is important because, for me, kind of an unfair advantage if you're lowering your graphics settings just to be able to see further. So now they equalize that playing field out. Now it's 500 meters no matter what. And it seems like they tried to optimize things a bit, too. The resampling system has been reworked to optimize performance. So that, in general, seems like a good thing. Fix the work of the camera that led to weapon distortion on screen edges on some FOV settings. Rework the game logic of the inventory, item moving, and context menus to minimize the number of errors that occurred in the stash. Less errors is great. Added the ability to change weapon fire modes by rotation by double pressing the fire mode key. What I think they mean by rotation is on a gun you have a fire selection, so you're going to be on safe, and if you fully rotate it, you're on full auto. So I think, and then we go to the settings here. That is the only thing I can think of, because if you look in the menu here under controls, switch fire mode to full auto was under BB, which I changed. That's my hot tip for you too. I changed B goes to full auto. So no matter what, because I could tap fire or do bursts if I want while I'm on full auto. That's my preference. I don't know if that's going to be probably most people's preference, I guess. If you have a full auto, you're going to want to use the full auto. So now I got rid of switch fire mode, so no more having to skip through burst. And I set switch fire mode to full auto just to be, because also having two different controls set to one button makes the game take about a half a second longer to process the control input because it has to differentiate between the two controls. So now it's going to be quick, just to full auto, no more messing around with burst. So I like it for that, despite the kind of confusing way they wrote that by rotation. I don't know. That's my best guess on that one. Added a 2-menu button to the first post-raid screen. So you could skip that now if you want. You don't have to look at the post-raid summary or anything. You can just skip right out of it. So good if you want to just get back into raid, I guess, quick. Added a check mark that lets you know if a weapon matches mechanics task requirements when inspecting it in the preset menu. So now if you have a gunsmith quest, if you go to presets and you're doing your gunsmith quest in the preset, then you'll be able to see if you completed it, seemingly only in the preset menu based upon that. Added single maximum fire rate for all semi-automatic guns, so effectively you can't use macros anymore, and I think it's a very good thing. Ultimately, it kind of nerfs semi-autos a bit. All broken and damaged windows and glass are synchronized, even between scabs and everything. So that's a big fix. It's just kind of annoying if people broke one window and then for you it was another window or it didn't break. So now if you broke a window, it's going to be the right window for everybody. That's just great. The AI of all scabs, raiders, and bosses has been moved to a new technology platform that will allow us to expand and increase the complexity of AI-driven unit behavior and also increase the number of scabs in a single raid in the future. So that's great. I remember back, it seemed like scabs used to spawn more at the beginning of the raid, and getting a scab kill sometimes was a bit easier. Now it seems like I have a hard time finding scabs sometimes, so more scabs would be great. And also, I think scabs are kind of cheap and broken at this point in the game. You know, they can drop shot, aimbot you through bushes, you can't even see them, but they're hitting you through a bush and kill you. Kind of cheap. When it happens, it doesn't feel great. Kind of kills your immersion. You know, they are like, the scavengers are meant to be kind of like criminals, but still kind of civilian criminals, or some of them have a military background or whatever. I would prefer, like, this is implying that they would do more intelligent AI behaviors rather than just be an aimbot, shoot you through bushes. Like, if it's a real person, they'll probably be more stealthy. They'll probably use more group behavior, maybe ambush you more. I would rather have it be something like that, where they're actually using good tactics or some type of strategy, than just being an aimbot being the only point of their difficulty, you know? So seems like that's a promising step. Completely redesign the quest system engine. This will decrease the number of errors in the quest system and will facilitate the creation of more diverse and interesting quests in the future. So that's cool. They really, right now, you basically just shoot stuff. And I know this is mostly a shooter type of game, but the quests, they get stale when you keep doing the same stuff again and again, especially wipe after wipe, it gets stale. So if they could do something more interesting, more power to them. Optimize the formula of calculating Fence's reputation penalty when killing scavs while having a high reputation. As far as I know, nobody exactly figured out what that means, whether it's going to be a worse penalty or maybe not as bad because you have a higher rep, so you don't want to get completely destroyed on your rep. I don't know. Ultimately, I don't think that's going to matter much. Either you're shooting scavs and you're being careful or you're not, so it doesn't matter to me. Changes quality settings of shadows and textures, choosing graphics presets, and changing the MIP streaming option. It's no longer available in Raid. I don't know, maybe there was an exploit, but you can't do that anymore if there was. Redesign a system of game settings that allowed to avoid several existing problems when changing parameters. Now, when trying to create an offer with missing items for sale, a no items available message will appear. The raid session ID in the bottom left corner is now unique for everyone, so it's maybe not impossible to scav back into the same raid, but it's going to be difficult to know if you're back into the same raid, especially if you're just a solo person. Then you're not going to know the same raid code, so you're going to have to try to figure it out some other way. You might get lucky and find your body still, but it's going to be harder to tell. I think that's a good thing, because player scavs are kind of OP at the moment. There's a lot of them all over the place. We don't need them coming back in and being able to get a second chance on people that already killed them. So that's how I feel about that. Various object penetration fixes on locations, so that's cool. I have noticed some inconsistency with penetration of various things, specifically like a chain link fence. Sometimes it seems like I would have a lot of good shots on the face and the head. I had the element of surprise and it just wouldn't kill them. So I don't know, it just seemed like it was a bit buggy or coded poorly. So hopefully now it just generally feels better when you're shooting through objects. So Players would not speed up when holding the sprint key while moving prone, so you can actually prone sprint now. It was intended to be a feature, and it didn't work, and now it works. So, Scav faction was displayed as Savage instead of Scavs. That was just a bug. I don't know how that happened. Game freezes when starting / handing items in for a craft. So that's actually really cool. So less game freezes. There's been a lot of game freezes in my experience. And then every time you go to the hideout, anytime you try to do anything, it takes forever to get anything done just to do the tedious minutia of your hideout. So this is really good because, wow, they were getting longer and longer, and that was starting to be a kind of a bummer anytime you went to the hideout. Taz KS-23 carbine was shooting well below aiming point. I like that shotgun. I guess it was aiming low before. I couldn't tell. I was still getting kills with it. But it's fixed now, so it's just more deadly. I didn't even notice there was an issue. Players were not receiving mail with aid while in distress condition, which I think up to level 5 or maybe 10, if you don't have enough heals and stuff or whatever, Proper will send you some gifts. And so I guess people weren't getting those gifts. Leaning position was not resetting after moving and pressing the lean key again if the lean key was set to press. So I guess if you had your lean set to press, it would not let you unlean. So yeah, that's a good fix. Not something that I personally have a problem with. Been loading through the chamber with leveling the mag drill skill lower than it was supposed to. Hideout areas could remain inaccessible at the end of the build timer. So you just had to restart your game before in order to finish the build. Players could freeze on stationary weapons after using gestures or quick releasing their backpack. I never encountered that one. Chambered cartridge would get pulled out of the chamber if the player used top up on this type of cartridge in the stash. So that was rather annoying. You would have, you know, one in the chamber and your 30 mag in or whatever, and it would take the one out of the chamber, and then you'd be racking your gun at the beginning of the raid. Which is just that one extra bullet. Probably doesn't matter too much, but it was annoying. So now they fixed it. So that's good. The memory skill would not grow by 5% from the current level when the player levels another skill by 1. So I guess that's good they fixed that. Tagilla would go through the cistern and get stuck inside. So yeah, also I guess that's good. Want him to actually be available and fighting. Maybe that's where he's been. I haven't been able to find him. The breathing sounds would not play when loading into a raid with Tagilla's masks. So that was just a general fix. Cultist knife poison amount was not counted correctly. So before, it would say it had 2 out of 2 uses, but it really only had 1 out of the 2. But it doesn't really matter that much. This one is huge. Flashlight light would go through obstacles. So I'm going to put in, you know, some clip that I took earlier. The flashlights are fixed. Let's try it. So like, do that again through the door. I want to see if it's just the windows now. Oh, look at that. It's just the windows. I think they fixed it, dude. They might have actually fixed it.
Ooh.
And then go up the stairs a little and start shining it around down here. And like through the wall and stuff, you know.
Yeah.
You are?
Yeah. Right at where you were.
Yay, I believe they fixed it, dude. It looks really good. It even seems like some translucent objects will let some light through. And like a tent, the cloth will let some light through. But then a door, you can clearly see both the flashlight going through both the windows, the light going through it, and there being no bleeding around the edges of the doors or anything. I've tried from different levels of buildings, shining around, and it seems like the flashlights are actually fixed, which was huge. Because that always killed it for me. If you see flashlight shining through a wall or a floor, it just immersion killing and makes flashlights way more valuable now because you're not going to be as obvious to spot. So really, really good. If players spam compass key while dropping a bag, the compass would not appear in the hand, but the azimuth would appear on the HUD. Very specific thing. I never ran into that. Players could not move without animation if they quickly pressed movement keys. Truck windows were visible through the fog on the customs location. So that's a good change. I've ran into that before, that you could see the windshields through the fog and stuff. And they still have that issue with glasses. Hopefully they fix that with glasses too. Just certain glasses. But yeah. Fix various issues causing error 500. So that's very good. Run into a lot of errors, back-end errors and whatnot this wipe. So just any amount less errors is great. So in addition to what they stated they changed in the patch notes, they actually changed some stuff with ammunition and how that works. one of the things I noticed now is you could actually load and unload shotguns, not just the chamber, but the magazine. The whole shotgun is now loaded just by dragging and dropping. It's really good. Also, the way that they did loading and unloading, I perceive to be faster in Raid now. They also, the way it stacks has changed. So if you see, I unload, it put the ammo into this pre-existing stacks. So I added 5 to M61 and 5 to M62. And it will even separate found in raid bullets from your non-found in raid bullets. So for me, it's going to take a little bit to get used to, but I think it's probably a positive change and just will make ammo management a little bit quicker in general, a little less tedious. So that's probably good. We also have the addition of basically what's daily tasks. I forget what they called it in the actual Twitter thing. But so if you go to your traders, you'll be able to see there's a green check mark. And you go to your regular tasks here. And then you'll see there's only one day to complete it. Accept, survive on location. Let's see. 42k XP is pretty good. It's supposed to scale with your level. So the rewards and difficulty are supposed to both scale with your level. Let's see, check mark goes away too, eh? When you accept it, find and transfer, accept. This one, I'll trade a Bitcoin basically for XP, which might not be the worst thing, honestly. Let's see, skier, elimination, 3 PMC headshots with at least 20 meters, so. Pretty handy rewards, so far it looks like the rewards are worth it. Also, they have now progress, so you can see how far the progress is on each particular thing. And you can see your operational, that's what it is, operational tasks. Go over there, see the progress. And then it says, yeah, exit location shoreline. So it at least tells you there where you're going, even if it doesn't say. So also, cool, they fixed the semi-automatic, actually, a bit. So before, you had to click at the right rate in order for it to fire as quick as possible. But no matter now, it doesn't slow down when I'm clicking as fast as possible. It's just going, no matter how fast I click, it's just going to top out at that top RPM. Instead of before, if you click too fast, it would actually slow down, which I experienced before in like Call of Duty. I recall that was a mechanic. But yeah, it's good that now the capped rate, it doesn't matter if you're clicking faster, you're just the max rate. So that's pretty cool. So they fixed a lot of issues with the game. I really think that they need to continue to improve quality of life in order to keep this game viable. This game has a lot of promise. I believe this game has a lot of promise. And if they do the right things in the future, fixing the bugs especially, but also adding new, more interesting, more diverse content, that's going to be what they need to really realize the potential that this game has to offer. This is a really great start, especially that Scav AI. I'm interested to see what they do with that in the future. Still quite a few more bugs to fix, especially audio is especially broken right now, and game breaking just sounding terrible, more terrible than ever, I believe, or at least from my experience. So hopefully they continue to do these quality of life improvements. There's a lot more that they could do to improve quality of life in the game, make things less tedious, I think, especially with hideout, selling, flea market type things. Maybe add a few more flea market slots from the start, maybe 5. Make things a lot quicker. I don't know if there's limitations to that. But yeah, so that's kind of all I have to say. Really promising update, some good stuff. Still quite a bit to fix, but promising game, still fun to play. Please like, subscribe, and follow on relevant platforms. I love you. Goodbye!